Hey, everybody, welcome live from Chicago. It's the Sports Doctor. I'm Dr. Bob Weil, sports podiatrist, all things sports, medicine, fitness, and wellness. We've got a great doubleheader today. Dr. Rachel Wellner, she's a physician and surgeon, and she's also the author of this new children's book, Dr. Marcia and the Case of Missing Hot Dogs and Marshmallows. Let's welcome Dr. Rachel Wellner. Welcome to the Sports Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Bob. Sports Doctor, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Give us some background. And by the way, everybody, Dr. Wellner, she's an international physician and surgeon with so many different great programs in various countries around the world. And we really want to thank her for all of that service. Give us some background on you leading to your new book.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Well, happy to explain. Well, I've had a lifelong passion for writing. Believe it or not, I was a Spanish literature major in college while I went pre-med. So I've been a writer for a long time, expressive of ideas. I have a lot of creative juices, and I really wanted to take some of my medical knowledge, even though I'm in the breast oncology surgery world, to other people. I went to medical school. I did my pediatrics rotation, and surrounded by lovely nieces and nephews and kids all over the place, and I really wanted to help our kids grow up right.
It's interesting because you jumped in I was telling you, probably for 25 years, give or take a few weeks, on the Sports Doctor, we have talked about the challenge of childhood obesity with experts from everywhere. We've talked about the bullying side of things. The number one reason for bullying, by the way, with children is obesity, is weight concerns. So it's a gigantic project, and we've made a lot of progress. However, we're still treading water. The challenge is as big as it's ever been. So give us a little bit of insight on where these missing hot dogs and marshmallows might be, and who's Dr. Marcia?
Sure. First of all, that's true. I want to say that, in this country, for the first time ever over the last 10 years, obesity has overtaken starvation as the number one food-related illness in both children and adults. So it really is a problem and an epidemic. So I created this kangaroo doctor character, Doctoroo. Dr. Marcia Rue is her full name. So if you just call her by her surname, she's Doctoroo. And I like to call her that when she sort of goes into hero mode. Basically, Dr. Rue, she has a pouch where all of her medical supplies remain, just like any kangaroo. They're marsupials. They have a pouch. And this pouch is magical. So when she gets called to go somewhere to go solve a healthcare problem, her pouch sort of lights up in a magical way. And you see things like stethoscopes and thermometers and tongue depressors start sort of flying out of her pouch. So that's the character of Dr. Rue, and in this book, Louis Lama is the postmaster, and he comes to Dr. Rue and tells her, we have a big problem in Washington, D.C. So she flies from Australia to Washington, D.C. To face the problem of someone stealing all of the hot dogs and marshmallows from the big 4th of July cookout in D.C. that the mayor of Washington and all of his colleagues are putting on.
Perish the thought that they're stealing all of these. Again, the message to children that involves, the good eating habits, making it fun, as far as also being really, really informative, I think is really one of the secrets to try to get the message across, right?
Absolutely. As she goes on her journey piloting the plane from Australia to Washington, Dr. Rue basically reviews the whole food pyramid. And there's one of her friends, Terrence Toad, is a little skeptical, and he likes his junk food. But he learns little by little to replace it with healthier foods, giving him better energy, making him stronger, healthier. He can cross the road without flopping. And notices that he's not having these cravings all the time for, fast food cheeseburgers and donuts, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course, fast food is a overwhelming challenge in our country, advertised ad nauseum And again, when these problems are not caught early, it's probably 3 to 5 times more expensive to bring up a child who's dealing with health problems, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's other kinds of concerns, foot ankle problems, all sorts of joint problems when we're dealing again with obesity, let alone as well as in the senior population. Everybody, you're listening to the Sports Doctor. I'm Dr. Bob Weil, sports podiatrist. If you go to my website, sportsdoctorradio.com, if you go to radio shows, you can go back years. What were the topics? Who were the guests? Again, all aspects of sports medicine, fitness, wellness, from what's the best shoe to what about concussions to what about these high-performance kids trying to prevent injuries and all sorts of problems. You go over to newspaper articles and magazines, you'll read an array of information on so many different great publications. The new exciting one being MVP Parent Magazine, where we're dealing again with the favorite topic, or one of them on the Sports Doctor, which is youth sports. Again, nutrition is such a big deal, and it still, again, is this gigantic problem. We're talking with Dr. Rachel Wellner. She is a physician and surgeon, a breast oncology surgeon, who is adding her writing skills to the area of children's eating habits. You mentioned at the beginning, again, what an epidemic we're dealing with obesity. How do people find out about the book? What's the best website, Rachel, for them to find out and get the book?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Bob. So it's directly on Amazon under my name and Dr. Marsh in the case of the missing hot dogs and marshmallows. And they can also go to my website, www.doctoroo.health.
Again, you know, these challenges of obesity staring us in the face. Even the COVID epidemic was overshadowed, or also with the obesity being one of the major health factors that was contributing to the complications of the virus. So again, it is such a big deal. And I mentioned before the idea of obesity being such a big deal, where we've had psychologists on, other experts, teachers, parents, talking about the bullying side of things. And that is such a big problem in so many areas. How has your medical associates responded to the book? I bet there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, I mean, there is. As you know, Dr. Robin, you already said, you know, there are hundreds of health problems that occur, you know, on the heels of obesity, including metabolic syndrome. You mentioned people don't think about it, the joint problems. I mean, you know, someone of 200 plus 300 pounds every time they walk.
Diabetes is an epidemic in the United States, and it's so related, again, to the obesity concern. And I used to say on the show with these experts decades ago that if we didn't solve this, it's going to break us financially. We can't afford these incredible complications.
Right. The cost of those complications, despite the fact that healthier food is costlier than, you know, quick and easy, on the back end, you're right. It's the expense is exponentially more to deal with when dealing with the complications of obesity. And you, apropos, you mentioned it during COVID that it, you know, puts people at risk for immunocompromise. In my own field, obesity puts women at risk for breast cancer.
It's just, again, the bottom line is we're treading water at best in the area of adult obesity and the area of childhood obesity. They had to rename the diabetes categories because there were so many children involved over the past. It used to be called type 2 or adult onset diabetes. Remember, Dr. Wellner?
I do, yep.
Right. Now it's childhood obesity and the diabetes side. So this is a tremendous challenge. What are some of the main messages? And tell us a little bit more along with the story in the book. What are some of the messages that you want parents and children to get? And what are the ages that you're looking at with the book?
Thank you, Deborah. Well, I'm looking for preschool to grade school. I have a nephew and niece that are 8 and 10, and they're reading Harry Potter, but they still love the books. So I would say even into the 10 to 12, you can get a lot of stuff out of these books because while they're written for children, they really do contain information that's good for all people. I have a lot of food pyramid showing up in the book, so I literally give examples of healthy foods. I have her substituting an ice cream cone for a sort of fictional snack, a carrot as a base and a watermelon scoop as the ice cream. And I think that, parents and kids need to open up the discussion.
That's a good one. Watermelon
right?
scoops
Upside down carrot
for ice
cone.
cream. Kind of picturing that. That's a pretty good idea. The idea, the old food pyramid. Today, the new medicine is eat smarter and keep moving, regardless of what we're talking about. But all the old the pyramids and the 3 meals a day and all of these things, let alone, again, fast food, which has been so overpowering in its commercial power as children grow up, that it ends up being a tremendous challenge because of all of the advertising that we're talking about.
Sure.
So, again, go back to some of the messages that you want the parents.
So simply stated, healthy food yields more energy, yields a healthy body, suppresses, appetite for some of the negative foods. So I want that to come out. The character of Terrence is important because he can't cross the street because he's eating junk. He can't get across the street. So I want that character to really stick in kids' minds. And I've also, with a wonderful illustrator, she's drawn some beautiful fruits and vegetables and healthy meats and healthy vegetarian type meals. And I really want that to hit home. This is not in the book, but one practical message for kids would be to get involved in the cooking process, having a gourmet night with their parents 4 nights out of the week, as opposed to, because kids don't naturally have a taste for broccoli.
Families can get involved. One of my favorite guests
This can start the discussion.
One of my favorite guests is Sally Sampson. She's the founder of Chop Chop Magazine, which is in half the pediatricians' offices around the country, all talking about, healthy eating, but kids cooking with the family. Then we would chime in saying, if you can all go walking together, but getting the family to participate in these good habits, I guess is such a sensible way to go about it. And and then the case is, by the way, where are the missing hot dogs and marshmallows? Who's got them?
Am I supposed to give away the story here?
Or? No, I don't. Terry, you got to see the movie. If you want to find out,
you've got to read the book. It was done with good intentions. And at the end, Doctoroo tells her team, they say, "Why did we do all this for hot dogs and marshmallows? The kids are better off." And she says, "Well, every once in a while, it's okay to have a special treat that may be a little less good for you, but that should be the exception and not the rule."
But that's another pearl. The idea, the whole word diet, which has turned off everybody for a million years. It's funny because sports nutritionists use the term fueling, and people get that concept real fast when they listen to that word compared to, can you go on another diet and whatever.
Sure.
But we need people to be realistic. What's your next book? Is it going to be a recipe book?
It's already out, actually. That's funny. It's called Doctoroo in the Case of the Hacking Hippo, and it teaches the importance of hand washing. So I'm creating a series actually with Doctoroo. The third one is going to be.
I got a message for you. I'll participate in your next book. We got to talk about what the best shoe is. We have to pay attention to being in the proper shoes. So the sports doctor. Be glad to throw a couple of messages in as you continue the series. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, I would love that. Absolutely. That could definitely be one of my books. So I will. Or
be active. This was an interview we just talked about again.
For activity. Yep.
It's not that long ago that the gym class in recess was in real peril. We argued like crazy on the Sports Doctor about that as people were shutting down the ability of trying to keep these kids active. Not everybody makes a sports team. So the idea of activity and keeping these kids I wrote an article called "Let's Get These Kids Walking." We wanted walking to be part of the school criteria, but go try to get things added to the school curriculum, and that was another effort. So, but all of these things are connected if we're going to make a difference. and the earlier we start. So this is why it's so important to hear about.
I would say that the problem is simple but complex. Eating healthy food requires some food consciousness, and it's a little more expensive and requires some planning. But once you build that routine around healthy diet or healthy food, it becomes life. It becomes a lifestyle. And it becomes ingrained and almost second nature. So that's sort of what you should get from the book. And my hopefully sage advice to others, that the problem can be tackled, one meal at a time kind of a thing.
Yes. And if there's a fun aspect to it, whether it's the treat that, hey, by the way, you could still include it, or healthy snacking, or the fact that, again, there's the participation with the kids. I never saw a kid who didn't like, putting his hands and getting involved in the cooking side of things. But everybody's been so challenged with time and all these different kinds of craziness.
That's part of our problem. Our society is overworked, and yeah.
So give us, Dr. Rachel Wellner, give us the site again, whatever, more information about the book and your new one.
Thank you. Well, it's on Amazon, www.amazon.com. It's called Dr. Marcia in the Case of the Missing Hot Dogs and Marshmallows, under my name. And the second book, also on Amazon, Doctoroo and the Case of the Hacking Hippo, Dr. Rachel Wellner, and also on my website, www.doctoroo.health.
Okay, hold on, Rachel. Hold on. We'll be right back, everybody. Sports Doc.